Austin here, and I'm joined by Darby Rollins and Zachariah Stratford. These two guys are the foremost experts in writing books with AI. The AI author has now helped over 50 people publish books using their famous 7-day challenge. This workflow helps you extract a book out of your mind and then have Jasper help you write it there. And so, throughout this training, which is going to be about an hour, hour and a half long. Go ahead and comment in the chat box if you're live or join afterward in the replay in the comments, and we'll be here to help. Guys, you want to share what you'll be sharing throughout this about hour-long training?
Absolutely. And excited to see everyone here in the chat, or everyone's coming in from all over the world, it looks like. Cool. We're super excited to be back on here and kicking off this this challenge, this event here for y'all again this next week. And today we're going to cover really in detail like what this whole process looks like when it comes to writing a book. So I think for the first few minutes, we're just going to kind of chat a bit about like why is it important to write a book in the first place? I mean, like why spend the time to write a book, to extract your knowledge, and because it does take time, it's no easy task. Like there's no way to put it. And so like why spend the time and energy and effort to get a book out? So we're going to cover that and some of the key reasons that we've found kind of across the board why it is important to write books and what they can do for you. And then we're going to really get into like how to actually use Jasper in this process. I'm going to walk you through step by step, day by day, day one all the way to day 7, how we literally take people from taking a book idea in their head to getting it all the way on paper and like ending up with 30,000 words at the end of 7 days that, can turn into an actual physical book that you're holding in your hand. And this whole process, over a year and a half ago started with kind of like, hey, I have this idea. I have a very knowledgeable and a very particular topic, and I want to turn it into a book. And we've refined that process over the course of the past year and a half with hundreds of students inside of our program. So we're going to go through that exact process with you. And then we're also going to cover how to get your book up and selling online. We're going to talk about maybe the different channels, the different ways you can approach selling your book. So you can pick whichever one works best for you. And then how to actually launch your book to bestseller. We're literally, and Zachariah here, I'll let you introduce yourself as well, but we're literally going to have you break down like what goes into launching an Amazon bestseller. Like what's the secret tips and tricks to like, how do you make this thing work? How do you get that bestseller badge that it can do a lot for you, can do a lot for your status, a lot for your brand, a lot for your business. We're going to just like take a look under the hood and show you guys everything that we've learned and what we know about this so you can go and apply it for yourself. So Zachariah, just give us a little bit of an idea what we're going to get to by the end of this.
Sure. No, I'm so excited to be here. And Austin, you were one of the first people through our like initial 7-day book challenge, and to like really go through what we've developed over the last like year and a half and just refine the process to get better and better and better. Obviously, Jasper Boss Mode and Jasper Recipes play a huge part into the success of this challenge and the success of you writing a book. So it's probably looks a lot different than the last time you did it as well, Austin. And then what it takes to get it to bestseller on Amazon, and really learning that. When Darby and I started this last year, I worked at I helped my dad run a company called The Book Patch, and we published over 100,000 titles at The Book Patch. And so I've seen what works, what doesn't work, right? What's a terrible cover, what's a great cover, and I've tried to embed like best practices of like what it takes to publish a book to bestseller into this challenge and the academy beyond as well. So I'm super excited to dive in, and I really want to touch on like why write a book. We had a dinner with a mentor and good friend of ours, Ron Lynch, last night, and he's called the $4 billion man. And we were talking about the reasons why people write a book, and I took some notes here that I wanted to share too. So like what Ron was saying is, to reasons why people write a book is either wealth, career, right, reputation, legacy, business, status, or story. And generally, those are the only reasons people write a book. So really getting
in the comments, why don't you share if any of those
Yes.
resonated with you? I would love to see what's your reason for wanting to write a book. Could you share those again?
Yep. So the reasons are wealth, career, reputation, legacy, business, which could be wealth as well, status, or story. So I'd love to see, what are your reasons for being here today? Right? What's the reason? Legacy, reputation, story, sharing your story, all of them. Yeah. Maintain passive income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your expertise.
Business and fun.
Oh, we're blowing up here. Business, wealth, reputation, status.
And so I'm curious we can see now the chat's really blowing up, and it might slow down this a little bit. So if it slows down our speed, we'll have to turn off the chat on the screen. But I'm curious for everybody that is figuring out if they actually want to watch the entire stream right now, or they just want to watch the replay later. What is needed to write a book? And you guys have the 7-day book challenge coming up starting on Monday. And so they're thinking like, is now the right time? Is this for me? So why should they stick towards through the training and learn the free process and see if they want to commit to next week's 7-day challenge?
Yeah. I mean, really what a book can do for you nowadays, and like the ease of use. I mean, 90% of people write a book on their bucket list items before they die, things to do before they die. And there's never been an easier time, like an easier solution to writing a book. I've written manuscripts the old way, right? And work with a lot of people that do. And the amount of overwhelm you get into, the amount of like staring at a blank screen and worrying about writer's blocks. I mean, the standard way to write a book can take months or years. And with Jasper and what we've been able to create, like hand in hand with this team, like you are able to actually finish a manuscript in 7 days. So there's never been an easier time to do it. We are by your side, holding your hand, right, the entire way. And you have this amazing community of other Jasper members to like hop in with. I think if there's a better way to spend 7 days, I can't think of one.
Yeah. And I think another big highlight here is the difference. And someone just brought it up in the chat. I see Molly, people charging 10, 20, 50 grand to help you write a book. And like, there's no shortage of places that you can spend money on publishers to put your book on marketplaces and getting it out there to try and help you get your message out to more people. At the end of the day, if you don't have the words out on paper, at least a first draft of it, like it's really just going to stay stuck in your head, and it's not having the impact that the book needs to have on any aspect of your business or your life. And using Jasper and using this process is really training Jasper to be that ghostwriter for you. And what you're going to come out of this process with, and the reason we focus so heavily in this challenge, in this sprint as a cohort on just write the dang book, is because we need an intense amount of focus, and we don't need to be thinking about all the other things that are a part of this process, when we need to really focus in, hone in on who's the person we're serving, what's the problem we're solving, how can we help them get from point A all the way to point Z, and how do we do that in a clear, concise manner? And that's what we're going to be talking about with you today here. And over the course of the next 7 days, starting Monday, and I guess we can kind of dig into like how we're going to start using Jasper in this process. We can kind of start diving into like, how does this really look for you guys that want to go and apply it right now, right? Like you can do this any week of the year, right? Like, it's just like, we find that it's a lot of fun to do with a lot of people at once because there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of accountability. We're here to help answer each other's questions and provide just all the resources that we have available to help you succeed. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to really day one. And what does day one look like? When you're kicking off a challenge like this, if you want to write a book in a week, what does day one look like? And how are we going to use Jasper for that process? Well,
I just want to take a pause here real quick. Who's ready?
Yeah.
Like, who's ready to jump in?
Yeah.
Round off in the chat. I know the chat's already blowing up. I just want to get a little excitement here. Like, who's ready to like really start learning what it takes to write a book?
I love it. Hey guys, I'm going to turn off my camera and the chat, let you guys take the show. You're the experts here. But want to let everybody in the audience know I'll be screening all of the comments. And if there's a question that I think that should be asked publicly, then I'm going to save that and at the right time share it. So please comment questions as they come up in the moment, and then I'll find the right time to collect them all and ask these guys. We will do a longer FAQ at the end if you want to stick around for that. But these guys have about an hour long of really solid content where they're going to give away the farm. This is going to be a great training. As you all know, when we do trainings, we do them the right way. So let's get into it.
All right.
Let's go. Cool. Awesome, y'all. Let's dive on in. So where do we start here? Day one, of course. Day one is where we're starting, and I want Zachariah, if you can pull up on your side of the screen our workbooks, because like every single cohort workshop we do, when it comes to writing book guys, all comes down to really starting with these 4 core worksheets. And inside of a 7-day process, we always start with like first and foremost your why, right? So if you're going into starting a book, you have the idea in your head. We want to just get really clear on paper. What is your why? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is your motivation behind this book? Like,
I'm ready to dive in. Let's just read into the worksheet.
Cool. Let's do that. Like, so day one of this process, and these are free worksheets that we're going to give you guys as well. Like, you have access to these resources. We'll share links with you. If you go to the aiauthor.com/workbook, you'll have access to these worksheets directly. I don't know if you're able to share your screen, Zachariah.
Yeah, it is. I think it needs to be posted up there. Austin, I don't know if you can do that.
I do not see your screen shared yet. Try again.
Okay. There we go.
Cool. Right. So know your why. So in this worksheet, we encourage you guys highly to start here and checking out Chuck Hogan's interview for just a real deep dive and really centering yourself around your purpose for doing this book. And it's really simple. Why are you doing this? And why is somebody going to read your book? Because you'll and what we found and what like a lot of people experience as you get into the book writing process is it's easy to get in your head and get a little bit maybe clouded as to where your vision is. And so always being able to come back and recenter yourself with your actual why from the get-go is foundationally important here.
And don't worry, I want everyone to focus here, and we'll walk through it. We'll give you the link to do the worksheets at the end too. So really, let's dive in here, but starting with why.
Yeah, and so again, without like going through and filling all the information out here, like we would just say like spend a few minutes just going through this process when you're getting started on day one to really set the the tone for what you're going to be focused on this next week. The second worksheet, if you want to pull up like just kind of the hub we have here, is the avatar. Like, who are you writing this book for? And you might, if you own a business or you have multiple brands or businesses, and you might work with several different types of customers or clients specifically. So I'd highly encourage, as you're going through and like looking at this book, is like if you could really just pick out and cherry pick one of the perfect person that this book is for. If this book only got in the hands of this type of customer, of this type of client, you're going to want to just get really clear on that. And so this is a good worksheet for just getting that kind of brain dumping what the avatar is. There's another.
I'd like to touch on this a little bit more too. And it's like really understanding the person you're writing to. And this is the ideal person you want reading your book. So really go into either, this might be an existing client, like if you had an existing perfect person that you wanted to write a book to in the past, or this is someone you completely create. But it's really critical that it's like one person. You start with one avatar and then understand their challenges, understand their pain points, understand what they go through on a daily basis, what keeps them up at night, right? And then possible objections to them, to not necessarily buying your book, but objections to whatever you're providing them on the back end. If you have coaching services, if you have anything like that. So your ideal customer for the larger reason why you're writing this book. The other thing is the sources of info. So really dive into like, where do these people hang out? What books do they read? What Instagram accounts do they follow? What TikToks do they watch? What blogs, websites are they on? Understanding where they are at in the world is going to make finding them a lot easier, right? And then the book now, once you have this avatar, the book now becomes a conversation that you're having directly with this person. So it makes the writing process a lot easier as well, really understanding who you're writing to. Now we're just using Jasper to create a conversation between you and them.
Mm-hmm. Good call. And something to kind of Something to keep in mind here, guys, and we're getting you guys a link to this. It's theaiauthor.com/workbook. Will get you access to all 4 of these. And something you can do, and if you go into your recipe section, Zachariah, I want to like pair this. So like as you're going through these exercises in this worksheet, a way to add Jasper into this process, especially for that ideal customer avatar, is if you go into your recipe section of your Jasper account, you'll see like the 12 stages of the hero's journey recipe inside of here. So scroll down on your recipe side, and the hero's journey recipe is kind of like you take this customer avatar and you turn it into this full-blown recipe where you're going through where are they at when they start and like what does their entire journey look like. This is a great way to use Jasper and like the AI side of things to go a lot deeper on a lot of these different questions that you're going to be asking. So like just thinking of ways that you pair Jasper alongside the first day of this challenge. This is a way that we find it very valuable and useful, as well as many other people that are using this recipe, not just for books necessarily, but just.
Absolutely. And this is just day 1 too. So lots of work going into right off the bat.
Yeah. Cool. Zoom in just a little bit, Zachariah. Just to make it a little bit. Zoom in just a little bit on your screen.
Yeah, if you could make it full screen and then zoom in as well, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So like we've covered 2 of these worksheets right now, right? We've covered the why and then kind of the customer avatars. Let's jump into the other one real quick, Zachariah, like of these, because after you kind of, know who you're going to be talking to and like have identified that like this is who I'm going to be serving inside of my book, we want to jump into like actually like setting your goals and understanding is like their actual competition for this, like is there actual demand for this book out here? And that's what this worksheet is. This is a really powerful what's that training session that we did with a best-selling author, a really prolific ghostwriter and publisher named Matthew Thrush. He came and taught at one of our earlier challenges last year, and he's got about an hour-and-a-half masterclass here that goes like into extreme detail as to what does like the Amazon research phase and like using tools like Answer the Public, Publisher Rocket, and we're going to cover some of these tools later today as well for like identifying like categories and like how to know that you can actually launch
launch a bestseller. And basically Matthew Thrush has written over 1,000 best-selling books, and this is his exact process for how to research and create bestsellers. So this is the core of once you understand your customer, once you understand your why, and now we get to understand the topic that we want to write on and like what it's going to take from us to hit bestseller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so getting clear on this, right? And we're giving you guys a few tools right here that he does recommend inside of that training as well. I mean, and you can do it the old school way with just going on Amazon and doing this stuff manually, but this is kind of like a way to just come in and just gauge like how many people, how much are these books selling on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? Like what is the demand on the market for like the keywords that people are searching for that they'll end up buying your book as the solution?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, this is a really solid like exercise and process to go through to just understand at a foundational level, like, is there demand for this product like on the market? And like, even if you're only writing your book for like a handful of people and you don't really care about selling tons and tons of books on Amazon, really good insights and deep dive into, what other books are doing really successfully and how you can kind of model success in your own book.
Exactly. And once you do the research, then you'll know for yourself, right? Goals, the goals you want to hit daily, the goals you need to hit bestseller, the monthly revenue that'll generate and sales your first year. And then long-term goals, like what are the long-term goals for you as an author? Is it is this a series of books? Do you want to have multiple books and like different subjects? Like what are those goals there? So having a clear picture going in is super supportive.
Absolutely. And so that takes us to, I guess, kind of like the third and final worksheet that we start everyone with on day 1 of this. And it's finding your spine. And like, ultimately, this is like the content brief that we're really going to be translating into Jasper as we start to diving into day 2 in the writing portion of it. We're about to jump in there. But this is a great kind of like really high level overview of like, if you're going to start in general with Jasper, like something that I try to tell everybody to like really like put extra emphasis on understanding the content brief, especially inside of boss mode, because the more detailed and descriptive and more like the more high level context that you can give Jasper inside of boss mode, inside of those 600 characters that we'll be working through this here on this call, is that's going to translate directly to how like powerful and how accurate your outputs are going to be based on the inputs that you're getting it. And so like essentially in every aspect of every chapter, introduction, conclusion, outline, we're going to be answering these like these core questions of like the what are we talking about? Who is this book for? Why does this matter? How are they going to achieve this? And then like where does this apply? And when is there a concept of time or something like that involved? And from our experience anyways, like understanding how to answer these questions and getting really good at dialing in how to answer these like series of questions inside of a 600 character or so
800 characters now.
I think it's 800 in the template section, not the boss mode just yet. Yeah, so maybe we'll get there, but like using everything you can inside of Jasper to give it that level of context is going to dramatically help your outputs and getting you towards that ultimate goal of what you want to do. And so for this worksheet, I would keep this like really high level where you're like, okay, this is like the broader picture of like, this is like the outline of basically of what my book is going to be about. This is who I'm serving. This is what I'm talking about. And then as we dive into each section of the book, we'll be focusing specifically on like the topic of that section of the book. You know, what are the questions we're going to be answering and things of that nature, like on that front. So again, I would always start here. We start everybody here kind of on that day one with those 4 core worksheets. And then this is kind of our transition phase into day 2, because once you do the foundation.
Touch on this brain dump real quick. It's
yeah. So this brain dump is something that we've actually turned from a best-selling author named Craig Hanley. This is like the manual process for going through and just brain dumping an outline in like a really rapid fashion to just get it out of your head. So you can do that here by yourself, and we've laid it out for you. But where I'm going to transition to right now is taking this outline model and then actually using Jasper to use AI to start to rapidly outline your book on that side of thing. And so let me go ahead here. Nonfiction only. Okay, we got a question. Is this for nonfiction only? So primarily, like inside of this 7-day window, we tend to focus more on like the nonfiction, like problem-solving books that solve a clear pain point for somebody in some way, shape, or form. Though we have definitely seen people do it for fiction. The templates that we generally have built all of this on have been applied to kind of like nonfiction business books, end up around 20 to 30,000 words.
Yeah. And I see one is, should we start on the worksheets for the first part now? You guys, we're going into a lot more detail, so I know you want to dive in and get ready, but just hold on starting to do the work. We're going to be turning on the fire hose here for like exactly how we dive in and use it with Jasper. So hold off on the worksheets.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So I want to do is I'm going to pull up this rapid outline method recipe here, kind of walk you guys through. And I think you guys should, let me make sure that everyone can get access to this recipe as well. Real quick. Let me edit the link. Text, rapid, community. Copy the link. I'm gonna paste this here just so you guys can go ahead and grab it and add it into your accounts. See if Austin can post that here in the chat. Otherwise, we'll have some of these links on the outside as well when we wrap up this recording. This recipe here, again, like we just touched, it was kind of like brain dump. How do we get these books out of our head in the first place? And so I go ahead and share my screen. I want to see. Okay, Everyone can see my screen. Let me know. Make sure on your end. Okay, looks good.
Good to go. Can everyone see?
Cool.
So if you guys have Jasper, you can log in and then open this up. And this will allow you to save it directly into your account. This is called a recipe. You want to go into it, Darby?
Yep, let's do that. So we've actually made like a little tutorial video here for you guys to all dive in and watch. And other side, let me see if I can unblur my screen a little bit. I just want to make sure it's not too blurry.
I'm seeing it okay, Darby.
Okay, I just want to. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click run. And this is really, once we've done the worksheets and the steps inside of that workbook on the content brief, we're going to have a pretty good idea about what we're going to want to be talking about here. And so we can go a lot of directions with this, right? Like, what do we want to write a book about in the first place? And so in the past, we've taken ideas from the audience for something like this. We've gone on our own and just for like our own sort of topics that we're more familiar with. And one we had a lot of fun with, I guess it was like a few trainings ago, was, what was it there? Like an introverted entrepreneur or something.
Networking for introverts was a fun topic.
Networking for introverts, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. So like when I'm demonstrating this for you guys right now, just so you understand, is like I'm trying to articulate it in a way that it's more about how you approach kind of from like a logistical side of like talking to Jasper on the input end of things to then get the better outputs. And so we're going to spend some time kind of talking through like, how do we answer these 6 questions right here inside of the content brief to then start to generate titles, paragraphs, book blurbs, outlines, and things of that fashion as well. So
into it. So the title, Networking for Introverts.
All right. So yeah, we're just gonna start with like a working title, Networking for Introverts. To say I'm an entrepreneur and I broke through maybe like some, like started, moved to a new city and I was very introverted and I wanted to make some friends. And so we're going to kind of start with, I have this idea. I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there and I know there's a lot of introverts. And so now I kind of want to like, what is a book that I want to write that can help entrepreneurs? And so like just approaching this and saying like, cool, like now I want to write a book. I have a rough idea of like kind of a working title, but like, what do I need to give Jasper to have it like even help me write an outline in the first place? The first thing I want to tell Jasper is like what this is. And so like in this part, you want to be very specific with what you're talking about, because remember, Jasper understands like 10+% of the internet. On that side. So it knows a lot. And so we really want to focus it in here on knowing that like this is and over here in the right-hand side, I'm trying to see if I can zoom in just a little bit too. This is a book outline for a topic about networking for introverted entrepreneurs. So this is the first question, right? And like I find that like you don't really need to like have too much info here, as long as you're just kind of starting to focus in where Jasper thinks. The second prompt here is like where. So like now here's the question you have to ask yourself, and giving this out to Jasper is like, okay, where does this apply? So I might say this applies to entrepreneurs who have moved to a new city and need to want to grow their network, but aren't necessarily extroverted.
Right. Maybe. Or yeah, just any entrepreneur that struggles with networking because they're introverted.
Okay, let's just keep it more broad there. So this book applies to any entrepreneur
that struggles with networking because they're introverted.
Because they are introverted. Why does this matter? So like, really, again, it's like point blank, like, why is this important? And, we kind of go like back and forth here whenever Zachariah and I do these, because, just kind of brainstorming, right? But it's like, why does this really matter? Like for somebody, it matters because I don't know if we want to
in order
network,
to get right, in order to sell a product, right, or in order to grow your business, you will need a team, right? You will need a team or need to work with people. Not always the case, I know, but this is what the book is about.
I would say maybe like instead of, which is like, because a strong network to grow your business, a strong network will help you grow your business. Maybe something along those lines, because
that's
a strong network can help grow your business and open up opportunities, right? And so bearing in mind here, guys, we've got 274 characters out of 600. So we're still like just about halfway there in the character count. And we've answered the first 3 questions here. So I think we're doing pretty good in terms of like the content we want to direct Jasper with. And so like, who is this for specifically? So let's dive in a little bit more. It's the introverted entrepreneur, still very broad. Like maybe like this book is for like entrepreneurs who are introverts that are just starting up their business. Maybe like, maybe it's like the startup introvert.
This book is for introverted entrepreneurs that are just starting their business.
Yeah, just starting their business.
And want to grow.
Right. Like when, let's say like, when is there a concept of time involved? Like with something like this? Let me see.
Normally it's like, normally we would do that if it's from X to X in 90 days or 7 days or whenever. I mean, we could do something like that here. I don't think it's necessary.
But but this is a good part though, when you're talking about the when and like the how, right? Kind of right here. It's like, this book is like a step-by-step guide to like going from introverted to like extroverted in 90 days in a new city for entrepreneurs, or maybe something along those lines. Like, what's the goal, the outcome here that we want someone to get?
Okay. So this book is for, well, we don't necessarily want to change them from introvert to extrovert. So, so this book is a step-by-step guide on how to network effectively as an introvert.
Introvert, how to network effectively as an introvert. And we got a little bit more room here, right? Like about 150 characters. Oh my goodness.
Austin, could you take that off the chat?
I'm sorry. I am literally trying to block this user. It is very frustrating to see spam all the time. Working on it.
No worries.
All right, so we'll keep going. Right here. Apologize about that. The screen, guys.
What happens when we do it live? All right, I like it.
Doing it live. All right, so say like this book is like, and like again, like coming back to you being the author here still, right? Like Jasper's your assistant. It's going to give you a lot of firepower, and you need to direct it in such a way that that you can give it that direction, and then start to harness it and keep it focused as we're going here. And so like coming into this, I was like, this is a step-by-step guide on how to network effectively as an introvert. Like if I know more here, I'll add it in. But like sometimes I like to leave a little bit more space for just adding stuff in depending on the outputs I'm getting. And so I'm just going to leave this here for right now. And I think this is a good starting point for us to get going. Something that I just a little like tip whenever we're starting to write a new document is you'll notice up here at the top left, it says it's still the recipe rapid book outline method. So I'm just going to click that and change the title to what the working title is, so that if I get out of my documents and I come back in, I don't have the name of all these recipes. And we just got the title right here. But another thing that we have the ability to add in down here on the bottom half is the tone of voice and the keywords, right? And so for something like this, and I'm thinking like for an introverted entrepreneur, I don't know, a tone of voice isn't necessarily jumping to mind like per se, but
I would say
we'll come
engaging, empathetic.
Engaging and empathetic. Okay.
Or engaging. Let's do engaging, inspirational.
Engaging and inspirational. Cool. And it's just to highlight the fact that like this tone of voice can like be changed quite often. And I encourage everyone to play with different tones of voices. Like descriptive words work good. Emojis can sometimes do a lot in terms of like directing Jasper to reference like what an emoji's like feeling is, but also like celebrity type people who have a lot of content on the internet that Jasper can reference their style of writing. Play around with it, because you might find you use a different few tones of voice. I'm working on like a fiction story, and I find that Neil Gaiman is actually a really good tone of voice, really prolific fiction author. I just like the style that Jasper does there. If I were to use like Chris Rock or somebody like that, it's going to have a different connotation to it than, you know, if I were to be like all kinds of different tones of voices are going to have their different impact with Jasper. And I think when you find one inside of your actual writing, then go with that and run with it. But sometimes if you're building out like, say like a listicle inside of a like a chapter of your book, or you're writing a blog and you're writing a listicle, literally using the tone of voice listicle style, like informative, like tends to like push it more towards that direction of being very like, this is step by step, that type of thing. And so that's the tone of voice. And I'm not going to add any keywords in here just yet, like for the purpose of what we're doing. But like effectively, we've just spent, you know, 10 or so minutes dialing in what this content brief and description is gonna look like. And to address your question, JP, only one tone should be used at a time. You know, I found that works great. And I've also found that if I mix and match tones, that like I can get some like really cool outputs as well. Like, to be honest with you, I don't know if there's one set way that Jasper references the tones, because like I've seen people use like emojis, and like the emojis will capture like a totally different style that Jasper is like promoting there. And so I just encourage you guys to have fun and play with it and explore kind of like what do the different outputs look like.
I can also share that if you use either famous brands that have great tones of voices that, you know, Jasper's read their ad copy, or authors that you like, or other impressionists, like if you wanted to have the tone of voice of Jerry Seinfeld, it works really well. So, you know, get creative here, try different things. The tone of voice field is one of the best ways to change repeating content and to make new variations of the same content.
Absolutely.
I want to touch on the time frames here and why we have them. You'll see these time frames at the top, and it's through each section. What we're trying to do is get Jasper to kind of get a brain dump, a ton of topics out immediately right away without doing too much editing on the back end, so you guys have plenty to work with. So we do give these time frames to give you kind of the urgency to just like get out and get this done.
Cool. So let's dive on in. Now that we've got like we've done the work, we know who we're running to write a book for, we've got the content brief, we've got a working title. Like, now it's time to jump in and let's see what Jasper can do to help us kind of brainstorm, right? And like, this is where like Jasper's really like your rapid brainstorming assistant. Let's get these outlines out and let's organize what the heck we're going to write a book about, and just get it on paper and let the human being decide the direction that's going to make the most sense. Remember, Jasper is a robot, very smart robot, but it's still up to you as the author to know where you're going to essentially be leading it, like in the end. And so getting clear on
maybe you could zoom in a little bit more here for some of the people.
Sure.
Trying to figure out how to zoom.
Command plus. Darby, are you on your Mac?
I am.
No, Command plus sign.
Or just zoom in on your trackpad.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so smart, Austin.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah. So, let us know in the chat if that's all good for you. Thanks for letting us know.
Cool. And so just one quick command here, write a list of short book titles for this book, right? And so The Introvert's Guide to Effective Networking, How to Succeed at Networking as an Introvert, networking for introverted entrepreneurs. That's our current title. So that's great. Like I want to actually like run a few more titles here. So I'm going to give Command Shift Enter again. And so like Jasper's kind of brainstorming some more commands here. And so something that to highlight as we're going through these commands, like any of these recipes that we create, they're all meant for you to work with and then adapt and build upon as well. And what I mean by that is maybe I want to write like a huge list of title ideas. And this command just isn't working for me because it's only giving me out like 3 or 4 at the same time. So a little hack that I found is that you'd say, write a list of blank short title ideas for this book. I'm just going to go add like a longer number here, like 27 short book titles for this book, adding that number in. And now you'll see Jasper's going to start like really like giving me a lot more in terms of like the outputs here. And now I'm going to start to brainstorm overcoming the challenges of affecting as an introvert. So these are a lot of just topic ideas that I can lean into and start to kind of build upon, right? And so I'm brainstorming here, and now I'm looking through maybe some of my titles and say the power of networking for introverts. And I actually like that one better, right? Yeah. So it's say like, cool, yeah, I got that one better here. And so I'm actually just going to take that and paste it now over here because I like the direction that title is going to be taking me. So let me see, hide your chat right here. And so like there's your title, right? And so as you scroll down this, you'll see the next is like select the title you want, paste it in the top in the title selection of the content brief. And so now I'm good to go there for what the title is. And so I can go and you could save all these different titles and topics if you want, but instead of saving them all, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that title here. I'm going to put the blinders on Jasper so it doesn't go and reference that we're writing more book titles. And now I want to maybe like write an intro paragraph summarizing this book and what we've kind of talked about. And so again, right here, simply running, you can run this command or you can compose and have it continue, but I'm going to do Command Shift Enter, which is going to run this full command. And let's see. Networking is essential for entrepreneurs, but it can be difficult for introverts. This book provides a step-by-step guide to network effectively as an introvert, open up opportunities for growth. Perfect. Okay, it's like, cool. Like, I like that. Let me go ahead and click Command J, just compose a little bit and see if it's going to continue writing on it, or maybe I want it to like write a little bit longer of a summary. I might run through a few different paragraphs here, but like the important thing with this section is like we're just trying to get like really like a book blurb out and a title and an outline of it so that we can then build off for the rest of the challenges. We start with the chapters, right? But this is a little bit more in detail. Are you introverted entrepreneur who's struggling with networking? If so, this book is for you. It's a step-by-step guide on how to network effectively as an introvert. Covers everything. So if you're looking to grow your business, this book, can help. This book is for you. That's a solid little blurb about a book.
Hey, Darby, could you explain the difference of how to execute a command in version 1? How do you keep it there so you can see what command was written? And then secondly, how do you just have it right?
Yeah, good question. So I tend to focus on like the Command Shift Enter to see the command in case I need to come back and re-enter it. But if you just do, I think it's just Command Enter, right? Yeah, no. Option Start Enter. Yeah, and if you guys have a question about the keyboard command shortcuts, upper right-hand corner, keyboard shortcuts, and you'll see what we're doing here. Command J is the compose. The Command Enter, as you saw when I just ran that last command, I now no longer have the command link there. Now, that's great if I got the output that I wanted, but just keep in mind that if you said like, wow, that was a really great output, and I was going through here and I'm like, wait, what was that command again? Like you might need to go and like kind of backtrack or just remember what you're doing there. So just something to be aware of.
Keeping the command. We like keeping the prompts there so we know, like if we hit a really good prompt, we want to save that for other recipes we're working on, and it's super supportive.
Guys, This is why we call it boss mode, because you literally are giving your assistant, who's an AI, commands. And the better the command, the better job they do. And so you can be super specific in commands. You're talking to the AI directly. There is no templates involved. It is like an open field. So you could say, summarize the content above. You could say, write a paragraph about something, write an ad about something, just whatever you want, really. Like just write it out, or you can go on your keyboard, activate your microphone, and talk to Jasper directly. And there will be some nice UI UX updates here to commands very shortly.
And this is like boss mode is really what took our writing ability to the next level. Having that kind of being able to run the specific commands and play around with the commands we give Jasper, it gets really kind of crazy. I don't think we'll go into it here, but I mean, we have a lot of fun with boss mode. So
absolutely. And so like to kind of like run through the rest of this recipe, right? Like as we're building up inside of boss mode, the second stage of this is like, once you've got your title and your blurb and your content brief, is now we go through these, like the 2-minute exercise just to keep you kind of fast and on your feet. So as you guys like go through this, like I encourage you to like put a clock on it and just like get the stuff out. And so you're not spending hours generating this topic. You're spending, a few minutes, right? So right here, what we want to do and what I encourage you to do is keep the 12 to 16 topics right here. So Jasper is going to reference that. You could also manipulate the command to be write me 12 to 16 different topic ideas that we're going to cover. About topic is networking for.
Somebody use the title, The Power of Networking for Entrepreneurs.
About the power of networking for entrepreneurs. Introverts. Or introverts, yeah. So I just wrote that out for, again, more context. I'm going to give it the Command Shift Enter once again and start to generate the title here. Now, remember that in the content brief, we told Jasper that this is a book outline. And because it knows that it's a book outline and it's picking up that it's a nonfiction book, like you'll find that there's like a very similar structure to all of these nonfiction books, these problem solving books, these business books. Like they take people from like what the problem is, like who has the problem, here's the steps to solving that problem, and the conclusion, what's the next step once we've helped you solve this problem. And so like right out the gate, what is networking and why is it important? That's a really good chapter 1, right? Like, I mean, you gotta get the basics of it. And then chapter 2, what's the basics? What to do, what not to do. Chapter 3, how to make the most of your connections. And you see where like on chapter 6, Jasper stopped because it gave its output length. And so simply just a Command J now, keep the conversation going. And these are all really solid chapter ideas from like a first kind of go round. And as I'm looking at this and saying, okay, tips and tricks, benefits, tips for networking, as an introvert, like some of these might not need to be in there, right? I might really only want like 7 or 8 chapters to cover the topic that I'm doing. But just like stepping in now and saying like, okay, cool. Like this is a pretty solid outline for a book, like on a first go round. And so as you guys are using Jasper to like help you brainstorm your outline, like really like think back to, okay, who's the person that I'm helping solve a problem here? And what do they need to know and learn throughout the process of this book to be able to like really in each chapter be able to get value out of that chapter specifically. And most importantly is making sure that you're delivering that value, especially up front, because I don't know, what's the number again, Zachariah, in terms of like statistically how many people are actually going to read an entire book?
Yeah, so based on statistics, only 9% of people are ever going to read past your first chapter of your book. So we really want to provide a lot of power and a lot of value going straight into the first chapter, and then give them a reason to get off your book. Either it's a free giveaway or something that takes them from your book to your business.
Yeah, exactly. And so
one thing I want to touch on here too is this is where being the subject matter expert for whatever you're writing a book on really comes into play too. And why I wanted to touch on that brain dump exercise beforehand, because a lot of times the topics that you want to talk about because you're the subject matter expert. So this is a great place to add in, like, hey, maybe you want chapter 4 to be, the story of how you how you did it, or like the very first thing you need to do as an introvert, right, to get out of your shell. Maybe it's like talking points or things to discuss. Like that's where you can add in and then use Jasper to kind of bounce off of or continue onward.
And I think like kind of pairing this is like, okay, now that we've got an outline, right? We're on day 2. Let's say that this is the solid outline that we want. Like inside of each chapter, like you mentioned, there's story that we're adding into here. There's like, what are the things that you're going to learn? Maybe the sub bullet points inside of this chapter. And then what's the conclusion for that chapter? And so like the rest of this recipe is kind of like, okay, like make an outline inside of each chapter. So each chapter is going to have its own outline. And that's kind of what you want to dial in for
let's take one chapter and just show them. Yeah. Inside of a nonfiction chapter, it's the intro, how you learned or earned the information, the topics you're going to cover, the 3 topics you're going to cover. You teach those 3 things, 3 to 4, sometimes 1 or 2, whatever it is, right? The teaching portion, the conclusion, and call to action. So every chapter you're structuring in that format, the chapter title, the intro, how you learned to earn the information, the 4 topics you're going to cover, conclusion, call to action. So we'll show you an example of that.
Well, let's pick. Do you want to start with chapter 1, or is there another chapter on here you'd want to?
Let's try maybe the basics of networking: what to do, what not to do.
Okay, so now we're going to jump into like day 3. Like now that we have an outline and we know what we're going to be talking about, day 3 of the 7-day challenge, and really day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7 is like all going to come down to like write. Okay. Like we want to get the words out here, and we don't want to get stuck in like, oh, I'm editing while I'm writing and I'm trying to fine tune it as like I'm going through. It's like, no, we need to get out what we need to say. And then we want to come back and polish and refine things once we've said everything that we want to say. So the next step here is the book chapter. And I guess I can do that here. I'm going to share this with Austin too. Headphones are dying. Recipe, so you guys can have this book chapter outline recipe. Now this recipe, we're basically going to take all of the that chapter outlines right here, and my headphones are dying. 1 sec. All right. Zach, can you say something? I want to make sure I can hear you.
Test.
All right. Cool. All right. So now that we're jumping in over here to like a book chapter outline, what I want to do is just take the basic information that I've got from our outline, and I'm going to just paste it over here to start setting the table. And like you'll find that inside of this process, it's really going to kind of be rinse and repeat based on every single chapter that we are writing out. And so if you've got like a project opened up for a book specifically, each one of these chapters is going to be its own document inside of that project. And so you might want to say like chapter 2, the basics of networking, just to name it right there. But then now that we've got the chapter recipe opened up, I want to make sure that I've got the right type of content description in here as well. And I want to follow, in this case, I'm just going to keep the same keywords too, the same tone of voice, apologies. And then I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to like reframe the content brief to be a little bit more in line with what we are going to be talking about in this chapter specifically. And so like so much of this is just formatting and getting the table set up so that whenever you're ready to start running with Jasper, you've already like thought through the process and know where you're going to want it to basically lead you. And so instead of saying this book, let me see.
Right, and remember, guys, that Jasper's going to read this content brief every time before it starts writing. So if you're finding that it's pulling information from that content brief, you could click that little button next to it, a toggle, and that would turn Jasper from seeing it or not seeing it. And that's there on the top left next to the brief. But that is right there. Yep. So now Jasper's no longer reading that before it writes. And so there's one way to keep it on track. However, sometimes that brief is really needed to give backstory, or if it's like two characters having a relationship, maybe you want to put that in the content brief. Or what was, if you're referencing things mentioned in the last chapter that it should know before it writes, put all of that right here in the content brief.
Absolutely. And so coming at this from like a fresh approach, right? And I'm going to actually, this time, I'm going to just voice dictate it because my fingers are tired and I just want to talk and tell Jasper what to do for me. I use a tool called VoiceIn, but I think Macs and PCs have all the ability to voice dictate. And so however you can access that on your laptop, I would just come back in here again and again, answer these what, where, why, who, when, and how. Say, this is a book chapter on the topic of the basics of networking for introverted entrepreneurs. This chapter covers what to do and what not to do in order to network to grow your business. It's important because there are good things to do in networking and bad things that you want to avoid. This chapter covers the top 5 most important do's and most important do nots in networking for introverts. And so you'll see there's some spelling here that needs to be addressed. Again, if Jasper thinks we're talking about knots versus knots, just want to make sure that it understands what we're saying here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. This chapter covers top 5 most important do's and most important do nots in networking for introverts. Okay, so just like a basic content brief. And now, like you said in your outline, Zachariah, it's like write an introduction paragraph about this. Part of the direction we find in like just in the general topic of AI authorship is like you're still steering the ship here. And often you can get the first draft out with Jasper really fast, but it's not going to sound human necessarily like right out the gate because it doesn't have your voice at the end of the day.
Right.
And so like we don't say like edit like this first round because you can always come back in and like look at it for with a fresh set of eyes. And if this is really your first draft with a book, like some people call it like vomit copy or like a vomit draft, right? Like get it out. Like you're going to probably change a lot anyways, but don't let that stop you from getting the words out in the first place, because just going through this process, you'll learn at a deeper level about the topic that you're going to be like on. And you'll notice inside of a lot of these recipes, we've got these like little variables where I could say about the chapter title, chapter title, right? So you can come into here and like literally just type in like these information bits, but Jasper's smart. And I've found just in my experience that, giving like the context of like chapter right here and in the title, like there's a good chance that Jasper's already going to understand what we're talking about right here in terms of like the networking for introverted entrepreneurs. So I'm just going to Command Shift Enter and start writing a little bit of an intro paragraph and see what we're going to be kind of like building on here. So like you said, introduction, like how I learned to earn this information. Like there's going to be maybe a little story here. It doesn't need to be like a novel's worth of story. It could just be like when I first moved to Austin, Texas, and I knew that I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know anyone and I was very introverted, right? Like you could start that. And I kind of want to go back and say that and like start the process off like that. Just so Jasper understands like that's the story that's coming in for it.
This is why I said that the book now becomes a conversation. So think about your ideal avatar, the ideal person you want reading, turn on VoiceIn and just speak out like you're talking to them. And then when Jasper references the copy above, then it's going to write in that style as well.
Oh, good call, Austin. Great. So yeah, again, good call there. Notice my toggle was actually off, so Jasper wasn't referencing this on that last output. And so let me go ahead and run that command again right here. Chapter title, Command Shift Enter. It's a book about topic and it's importance right here. And so what you see right here, like this isn't really a good output. Like Jasper's seeing like what I put inside of my content brief over here on the side. And it's kind of verbatim spitting that back out. So I'm going to say, no, like Jasper, like thanks for like the output, but that really wasn't what I was looking for. Go ahead and run that command again. Important topic right here, right here. So, and when you find like you run into this, because it does happen, right? Like, again, this is an AI tool, and so much of it is just finding the right direction to work with it and tweaking these commands. Let me say the basics of networking right here, and just give it a little bit more context. Better intro back, one of the most important skills. All right, cool. So a little bit better right here. Networking is one of the most important skills they can have. It's how you grow your business, make connection, and find new opportunities. But networking can be difficult, especially if you're introverted or shy. So I'm like, cool.
In this article, I would just change that real quick to in this chapter.
Yeah, like in this chapter, we'll discuss the basics of networking, what to do and what not to do. It's like, okay, cool. Like okay, Jasper gave us a little cliffhanger here. So like, what do we want to do with this? Either step in, like as the author and say like, I want to expand on what you're saying. Or if I think it's on a roll, I'll just compose, just Command J. And we'll cover the top 5 most important do's and don'ts of networking for introverts. Right. And so like pretty clear, pretty brief, pretty concise like chapter here, a lot of room for you to come in and add your own personal story. Right. And so like, and I don't want to necessarily do this right now. I could, but I could say like most important skill, you can do this, but networking can be difficult, especially if you're an introverted or shy. So now this might be the time to go up and like grab a little personal bit here, because I know that this is going to segue me into these top 5 do's and don'ts right here. But I'll say like, okay, when I first moved to Austin, I was very important people, Command J. Like I started it. I had to force myself to go out and meet new people. It was scary. It was uncomfortable, and it was incredibly important for my business. I quickly learned that there was no right and wrong way, right? And so like, especially if someone's reading this book and you're like authoring the book, like this is like putting yourself or somebody else in your shoes, and you're making that kind of like that connection with your story and tying it back in. And so like, that's like, again, it doesn't need to be like a ton, but even just adding that in right here. And I quickly learned this in this chapter. All right, cool. Now the stage is set, and we're going to start going in. The following are the 5 most important do's and don'ts of networking. And so this is kind of taking, it's Jasper's smart enough to know that like we're already going to be building out an outline right here, like anyways. And so like now that I know that like the top 5, and here are the 5 important do's, then 5 most important don'ts. And so like now I've got the outline for what this chapter is basically going to be like. And
Jasper's doing it already. Now let's take a more detailed look at each of these points.
Mm-hmm. And so this is, I mean, again, Jasper never ceases to just blow my mind with this type of stuff, but like the why it's doing this, and it's important to realize this, is that like it's recognizing the pattern of what's going in. It knows we're talking about a chapter. It knows we're talking about do's and don'ts, and it knows that we need to expand on it. And so it prompted itself, now let's look into more detailed look at each of these points. Command, do it for yourself out there. Be willing to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I'll say like, cool, like it sounds like Jasper's on a roll here. I don't want to stop it. I want to just compose. There's plenty of networking events and meetups. Do it yourself. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let's keep the process rolling. People remember you for being genuine. Be curious. It's following the same prompts that we gave it before. And like, as I'm doing this, I'm saying, okay, like does this make sense? Is it repeating itself?
Like, these are the 5 do's. It's saying do, be curious, do, follow up. It's good. It's kind of seems cheeky a little bit.
Seems what?
Cheeky.
but it's like literally, it's like do's, don'ts, like that type of thing.
Don't be shy. That's cool.
Now, and so I'll say like, okay, now we're doing it. Now let's talk more about the don'ts. Right.
And so part of this here is to have somebody else at the table that is there to help you brainstorm, to come up with new ideas and where to take your book. And so you'll end up finding Jasper is your assistant to, figure out, what's the best way to say something. And if you want to include your own anecdote, stat, story of some kind, then you could also use the content improver, which we haven't gone into at all yet, about improving existing content. So, feel free to share on that. But we also do have a time check here. We're into about 1 hour now. I know there's a lot more promised here in this training. So let's continue on here past this recipe.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, I think like to recap what we've covered to this point, like, is really the foundation of like how we write books with Jasper in the first place. It's doing the day one research. It's doing the outline on day two, and then it's expanding the outline really through like the rest of the challenge and getting the words out on paper, and then using Jasper and using Content Improver and like tidying up each chapter and doing that process. And so that's what like that effectively it's going back through this process again and again and refining it using all the different tools. But I do want to share with you guys now, like, let's look at like, cool, like now that we know what to do and we know how to write the basic building blocks of writing the book, like what's the next step now with making sure like we know that this book can at least get to the what's it like bestseller, right? Bestseller on Amazon. Like in the tool that we've used in the past, like for our own books to get to bestseller, and many other authors use as well, is called Publisher Rocket. There are free ways to do it, but like I just want to like show you guys how like really how easy it is if you can find the right categories to like get your product and book to bestseller, and how to actually get your book and selling online. So like Zachariah, if you want to maybe like take the screen here and like touch on like, okay, like a little bit on that front.
Yep. There we go. My screen. Austin, do you see that there?
I still see my screen. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So we'll go into category research. So this is Publisher Rocket. It's a tool we use just to find out what it'll take to get to bestseller. So I like to go search all, right? The category that we're using is networking. Okay, cloud computing. Okay, so let's do entrepreneur. All right, business and development, entrepreneurship. Okay, here we go. So, and let's just look at Kindle, right? So we're writing a quick, 150-page ebook, right? What it's going to take to get to number one in some of these categories. So you see here, this is the Amazon. This first might be a little difficult to see. I can't zoom in anymore. But to get to number one Amazon bestseller rank, so here is the Kindle store, Kindle eBooks, business, and the category business and money, and then entrepreneurship and small businesses, that category we're nailing down into. All right, so you see the number one, the rank, the Amazon bestseller rank of the number one is 431 here. This is the sales to number one will be the sales in one day that you'll need to hit that number one bestseller status. So you can see 207, that's a little high, right? Not undoable, right? Not doable. You'll just need to really prepare, have a solid launch strategy, and then make sure that first week of you're on Amazon, you have all of your traffic, all of your friends, family going and buying on a set day, so you can get the 207 sales it'll take to number one. Now, the thing
can
that
you zoom in a little bit here?
I don't think I can.
Okay.
See. Yeah, it's not letting me do Command Plus. It says 207. The thing to know about Amazon is you can upload up to 10 categories. So this definitely, you're going to want this as one category, but finding the other categories you can rank in. Here's another one. It's the same category: entrepreneurship, advertising. You only need 7 in one day to hit bestseller. Management, right? You only need 84. Startups, you need 106. Franchises, home-based, right? So maybe this is around home-based entrepreneurs that are getting out, right? The category is still relevant, but you're just using the data available to you to be able to hit that number one status, and in multiple categories even. But you can upload up to 10 categories. So understanding the book you're writing on, the avatar you're writing to, and then what it takes to hit number one. So see that, and that's just for Kindle. And then we go into the physical copy books. Same thing, small business entrepreneurship, right? It gives you all of these as well. So this one, marketing, is only 15 books in one day that you need to hit. So let's say you're hitting that multiple days on Amazon, you're going to keep that number one status for the week or the 2 weeks. Let's say you're running Amazon ads, you set up a budget of 10, 20, 50, $100 a day. You keep getting those sales because you've done all this work, your cover's correct, you've done the market research, all of that's ready to go. This will be very supportive for hitting and maintaining that number one bestseller status.
We've got a good question as well about, like, can you update books on Amazon with more info as it comes available? So it's more like a living document, not static over time. The answer is yes, you can. And it's kind of the beauty of self-publishing. Like on Amazon, or if you self-publish through your own site, is you do have that ability to update the manuscript as well, which is really nice, especially as like books, do get updated as more information comes out. You don't want to necessarily relaunch a new book. You can update that, have a new edition on Amazon.
So I want to touch on who here feels like, okay, understanding this topic, understanding the market research, who here feels like they can actually hit bestseller, seeing, hey, it's only going to take 50, 100 books a day.
I think a lot of it too, is going to be like, what's your network look like? And like, what are you doing on the outside of a book launch that's going to build up like the hype and like, just like the eyeballs for whenever you're launching to Amazon? Because like, I know myself, I've never ran like a Wall Street Journal, like bestseller campaign, or like a New York Times, but like they operate in a similar sort of model. It's just not like a daily reset like Amazon sales is, like, right? Like every day, if you're making these sales in these categories on Amazon, it resets, and then you get the new bestseller badges. But if you're doing something, I think it's like 6,000 books in a week minimum for Wall Street Journal to make a run for that, right? And so like, just like in terms of the scale of things, like it might not even like make sense to try on your first go round to launch a Wall Street Journal bestseller unless you've got some serious marketing dollars or a lot of eyeballs already, like on a social media platform, or like your existing audience that you can harness and tap into on that front. But like, yeah,
I do want to mention that you don't need to be a bestseller for your book to still be so valuable. I can share a few things. I am a customer of these guys as well. I was one of the first to go through it because I wanted to see what they're like before I introduce them to the world. And I can say that with confidence, they have proved themselves to be on this stage. They know how to help extract a book out of your mind and then use Jasper. They're definitely the experts on how to use Jasper as well. So a few things for me. One, I get consulting randomly. Calls booked on my calendar, advisory offerings, and I didn't hit bestseller. I didn't even market that hard. It's through cold search on Google, on Amazon, in the niche, and because of a well-written description of the book and people seeking it out to solve problems that my book solves, it was a great leadway into extra consulting and advisory roles. Second is the book, doing it over the course of 7 days, allowed me to get clear on how to drip content throughout the whole year. So each book could basically be a month. A 12 chapter book is now 12 weeks or 12 months of content. So it easily allows you to create a content roadmap that gives you the raw, essence of what you and your business represent. And then you could turn that into social media posts, TikToks, YouTube videos, etc. Even pull out screenshots or sections of your book and put that out publicly for free in emails and ads for your book. And it could even be the outline of a masterclass, a webinar, speaking stage, all of this. Like doing 7 days of thought ends up creating a book, sure, but repurpose it in so many other ways.
Absolutely. And there's a lot in the comments here about just being able to say you're a published author, right? Increases that authority like tenfold. And say you're a best-selling author, yeah, it's a little bit more. So just the authority piece, exactly, Brian, about Tim Ferriss's blog. Oh, I love this. Well, let's get into get the 7-day challenge. You guys have seen what it takes to write a quick outline, to break down your chapters. If you wanted to do this on your own, all you would need is to write an outline and then do that chapter recipe 12 times, 12 or 16 or whatever times, write a quick conclusion, and there you have a book in your hand. But Darby and I really wanted to make this super easily accessible to you. And this challenge, I mean, to do it with a cohort, to do it with a group of people. I mean, everyone here in this chat is super fired up. And we want to make this really accessible to you. So we've run this challenge. You guys have seen it before. We've run this challenge to at even $9.97, but we want to just make it ridiculous for you today. So Darby, do you want to share with them all they need to have access to this challenge today?
Yeah. And then guys, I think you can take this information and run with it completely on your own. Over the past few months, we've opened up our cookbook membership, which is essentially our resource hub for anyone and everyone using Jasper for books, blogs, and beyond, just to really get the most out of Jasper. And we're building our AI author community in a platform called Circle. And Circle is a really cool tool that I feel like we're just scratching the surface as to what it is. But basically, we're opening this challenge up for the entire Jasper community to go through this really as a cohort together in a really, sectioned off Circle center. I'm going to show you guys how it looks like whenever you're inside of here in terms of when people are going to be joining this challenge. But we're doing it so that every single day next week, Monday through Friday, it's 12 to 1 Central Time. There's going to be a live Zoom call, Zachariah, myself, and dozens, if not 100. I don't know how many people are going to end up showing up. We'll see how many of you guys show up with us. We've got hundreds of people already in our membership that are, I know a lot of them are planning to be there. But we're going to be going through this entire process together and making massive strides in your book. Some people just have an idea and they're not sure where to start even just yet on the whole process. Some people are 75% of the way through that. And then, there's a Canadian holiday, someone said, it's 4th of July. Yeah, we're coming up on 4th of July, and I totally get it. And life's always going to happen is really my only response to that. And
so I just want to be clear, we're starting to run these challenges inside of the AI author cookbook only, right? That's all it requires to do it. And like I said before, last year we ran this challenge at $9.97. To have access to it today, you just have to be a member of the AI author cookbook. We'll live stream every single day.
And so, last month we ran an event called the Recipe Rockstar Bootcamp, which you also get as your membership to the cookbook. It's a 3-day kind of 1 hour each day workshop on really going deep into recipes. And so we're going to be hosting these type of monthly events here. And this is just our summer 7-day book challenge. And as you can see, whenever you get inside and into this challenge bit, we've got the entire thing outlined right here. And all of the links for the calls are going to be held inside of this Circle place as well. Everyone's going to be posting and connecting and getting, it's being a little slow, and just getting involved in, connecting with other authors in the community, really making great strides toward their book in this place. But, forgot I posted this yesterday, but we actually just confirmed this week that John Benson, he's kind of the godfather of VSLs. He literally invented the VSL back, I think it was the mid 2000s or something like that. But he is, a really, really, really great marketing mind. And when it comes to VSLs and how to translate your thoughts in a way that's going to capture people's attentions through video sales letters, it's an insanely powerful marketing tool. And we're bringing him on because, like, while we know that this is a book writing challenge, there's a lot. If you don't get marketing to your book and you don't get eyeballs to even read your book in the first place, then like, what's the point in doing all of this anyways? And so he's going to be a guest speaker on day 3 of the challenge. We may have someone else come in yet. I don't have them totally confirmed, so I don't want to put that out there. But yeah, I mean, this is basically what we're doing this next week, kicking this off Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 Central Time each day. Live Jasper training. We'll walk through, we'll Q&A, and we'll have some people coming up on the hot seat on each day to kind of like go through where you're at with the book and learning Jasper and really, getting deeper into what this whole process looks like.
Darby, can you show them the link to just sign up for show them the AI author?
I think Austin's got to do that, but yeah. So I mean, it's just at the AIauthor.com. You can subscribe on a monthly or annual basis. You can cancel anytime. Like if you're in the monthly membership, but yeah, I mean, again, guys, this is still our founding members launch. We're kind of in phase 3 right now. Again, we just started rolling this out there. And this is our resource hub, our library for what we do and just our corporate engagements when we're working with clients one-on-one and developing recipes on all sorts of fronts. This is the hub that comes back down to you, so that it's just really easy to access this stuff and to have these community events. And it's just like the general collaboration inside with people that are, taking Jasper, using it for books, and really like working to like hone your skills on a regular basis to get the most out of what AI can do for you.
So can you show the AIauthor.com, show the site? So this is all you have to be is a member to Cookbook. That's all you have to do. So to get access to the challenge, you get access to all of the custom recipes we created. Everything that we do inside of this is like the hub and center for it all. So all the live trainings, the Recipe Rockstar Challenge, which is another 3-day challenge that we run around creating custom recipes like what you saw here today. And that price right now is either $19 a month or $149 for the year. We wanted to make this as simple and easily accessible to Jasper Nation as possible. So we price it accordingly. And we just want to have a lot of fun with you guys and see, like, let's push the boundaries of what's possible with Jasper and connect as a community. Let's have a ton of fun on this challenge. I'm so excited to share it with you guys and like see what we can create. So all we ask is that you're a member of Cookbook. We have the link to sign up.
I want to say, let me see.
Hey guys,
right
let us
here
know in the
often.
chat if you're in. It's going to be exciting to build a little micro community here. Of course, this is an offshoot off of the main Jasper Nation because it's focused right now on building the book challenge. So that's what this cohort's all about. You've already been shown in this training today, as a little recap, why a book is important, what it can do for you, your business, and your life. You've also learned how to outline your book with a Jasper recipe, how to use Jasper, and some little tricks of the trade there, because man, AI can get super complicated if you want it to be, or it can be very simple if you want it to be. Also, how to outline your chapters correctly, how to get on Amazon bestseller. What do you need to do in that first chapter to make sure that business happens? Because remember, only 9% of people read past the first chapter. Then you also see how many chapters you should have, and how to use Jasper to basically ghost write for you, or be a brainstorming assistant, or improve your existing content if you just want to sound better or have a different kind of tone of voice. And then lastly, what it would look like to join a cohort of people doing this alongside of you. And it's to knock this out. So the end of next week, literally next week, by this time next week, you will have a book in your hand printed. And it's, what do you guys call it? The MVB, minimum viable book.
Yep. Minimum viable book. And that's the
Tell us about that philosophy.
Absolutely. So what we see is people spend so much time. There's a lot of fear around writing a book and publishing a book. So like, much like the thought of like minimum viable product, let's just get it out and done. And then you can launch a version 2. You can launch an updated version. We're doing that right now with our bestseller last year. It's really like, let's do what's necessary to get the minimum viable book that we can out into the world, and then we refine. But the longer you spend editing, and like editing hell, I call it, and it's pushing past that fear to just put it out there. I don't care if it's perfect. I don't care if there's some typos. Like, let's just get it out and done. That's really the philosophy around what we do here at the AI Author. And I think that's really where publishing is heading in general. Like, self-publishing is the way to go. And really, like, the ability to change interior files, to launch the second version of the book, the new and improved. I mean, you see that in some of your best books, Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss, like all Tony Robbins, they all have a new and improved version of their book. 4 Hour Workweek has multiple. So this is the mindset here. Let's get the book done and get it on Amazon so you can call yourself a published author, whatever that means to you, whatever that reason is for why you're doing it. We're here to help you just get it done.
All right. So real quick, what do you need? You need a Jasper Boss Mode membership. That is $59 per month to get you 50,000 words. You can scale up or scale down at any time. That's going to give you access to the document editor, commands, the recipes, and all of that. And then secondly, you need their cookbook membership. That is so you get all the coaching, accountability, and community and resources. They bring in guest authors, all of this stuff to help you launch a book. That's what this is about here, is launching a book. So that is $19 per month, or you said how much per year?
$149 for the year.
Mm-hmm. Either one, no commitments, cancel at any time. That goes for Jasper and the cookbook. And so at the end of the month, after you have a book launched and you don't have the need, that's okay. They do have ongoing support and help around more creative ways to use Jasper, which is cool. These guys have figured out how to do all kinds of recipes, custom recipes, etc. But this book challenge is pretty freaking awesome and affordable to everybody. So those are the two memberships you need. Literally for less than $100, you can get a book live in your hands.
Do you want to post that link again to the AI Author, Austin?
Yeah, the AIauthor.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, guys,
I got to hop off, y'all. If you want to continue this here in the chat, tag specifically Darby Rollins and Zachariah Stratford. They're here to help you. Give them a round of applause for sharing so much value on today. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but they gave away the farm. Literally, those are the recipes that they use. And throughout the week, there will be accountability and structure to helping you do this alongside others. So with that, we can talk about more questions and answers in the comments. Thank you for your all's time. Cheers, y'all.
Bye, y'all.